For years, Madison Square Garden has been one of the loudest stages in American sports. But on this night, the spotlight wasn't focused solely on basketball. It was focused on a political figure whose presence guaranteed that one of the biggest sporting events of the year would suddenly become something much larger. And that raises a question that goes far beyond one game. When a sitting president walks into a championship atmosphere, does the crowd see a fan or do they see a politician? That question was hanging in the air long before tip-off. The New York Knicks are in a moment their fan base has waited decades to experience. For many supporters, this isn't just another playoff run. It's a cultural event. It's family history. It's a citywide celebration. Generations of fans have been waiting for a chance to see their team compete on the biggest stage. But as excitement reached its peak, another storyline emerged. President Donald Trump announced plans to attend a highly anticipated finals matchup at Madison Square Garden, immediately turning what should have been a basketball story into a political one. And the reaction was swift. Supporters welcomed the appearance, arguing that a president has every right to attend a major American sporting event. Critics saw it differently. They questioned whether the added security measures, traffic restrictions, and disruptions would take attention away from the team and the fans who had spent years waiting for this moment. Suddenly, conversations that should have been about basketball strategy and championship dreams became conversations about politics, public opinion, and presidential optics. That's why this story matters. At first glance, it may seem like a simple appearance at a sporting event. But in today's political climate, almost nothing involving a president remains simple. Every public appearance becomes a statement. Every crowd reaction becomes a headline. Every cheer or every boo gets analyzed. And nowhere is that dynamic more unpredictable than New York City. The city has a long and complicated relationship with Trump. It's where he built his business reputation. It's where his name became internationally known. Yet politically, New York has frequently moved in a very different direction than the president's supporters across much of the country. That reality creates a fascinating political test. How would a finals crowd respond? Would the arena focus entirely on basketball? Or would the president become part of the show? Those questions gained even more attention because of reports that security arrangements were affecting the broader fan experience around Madison Square Garden. Large sporting events involving presidents require extensive coordination between local authorities, federal agencies, venue operators, and transportation officials. That's standard procedure. But some fans expressed frustration that additional restrictions were impacting plans surrounding the game. People who had hoped to participate in public celebrations outside the arena suddenly found themselves facing changes to those plans. Others worried about heavier traffic, tighter screening procedures, and longer entry times. For supporters of the president, these inconveniences were simply the unavoidable reality of presidential security. For critics, they represented an unnecessary distraction during one of the most important nights in franchise history. And that's where the story became bigger than logistics. It became symbolic, because politics today often revolves around symbolism. To supporters, Trump's attendance could be viewed as a president participating in a major American cultural moment. To critics, it could be viewed as another example of politics inserting itself into spaces where people simply want a break from political conflict. Neither side was likely to persuade the other, but both sides were guaranteed to have strong opinions. And public opinion is particularly important right now. Recent polling has generated significant discussion about the president's standing with voters. According to various surveys released in recent months, Trump's approval numbers have faced challenges in several key demographic groups and regions. Different polling organizations report different figures, and political analysts regularly debate methodology and interpretation. However, many surveys have suggested that concerns about economic issues remain front and center for voters. Inflation, household expenses, housing costs, medical bills, consumer confidence. These topics continue to dominate conversations across the country. Even among Americans who strongly support one party or the other, economic concerns often rank near the top of voter priorities. That's important because public appearances don't occur in a vacuum. Every presidential event gets filtered through whatever issues voters are currently experiencing. When people feel optimistic, public appearances can reinforce momentum. When people feel frustrated, those same appearances can generate criticism. That's one reason political strategists pay close attention to crowd environments. Not every audience reacts the same way. Certain venues naturally attract supportive crowds. Others are far more unpredictable, and sports arenas fall into that second category. Unlike campaign rallies, ticket holders aren't attending primarily for politics. They're there for the game. That creates a unique environment where reactions can be difficult to predict. Sometimes crowds cheer, sometimes they boo, sometimes they do both at the same time. And because those moments are televised nationally, they instantly become part of the political conversation. The president's supporters argue that criticism of these appearances is overblown. From their perspective, presidents have attended sporting events for generations. Sports and politics have intersected throughout modern American history. Presidents throw ceremonial first pitches. They attend championship celebrations. They congratulate winning teams. In that view, showing up at a major sporting event is entirely normal. Critics counter that context matters. They argue that the political climate is unusually polarized and that highly visible appearances often draw attention away from the event itself. For them, the concern isn't necessarily attendance. It's the shift in focus. After all, Knicks fans waited decades for this moment. Many believe the story should belong entirely to the players, coaches, and supporters who carried the franchise to this stage. That emotional investment helps explain some of the passionate reactions seen online. Social media quickly filled with competing viewpoints. Some users welcomed the president's attendance. Others urged him to stay away. Still others joked about sports superstitions, suggesting that any unexpected change to a team's routine could somehow affect performance. Sports fans are famously superstitious. Whether it's lucky jerseys, lucky seats, lucky meals, or lucky routines, many supporters genuinely believe certain traditions influence outcomes. Of course, there is no evidence that a presidential appearance affects a basketball game's result. But logic doesn't always win against sports superstition. And when emotions are running high during a championship run, fans often look for any variable that feels different. That emotional energy is part of what makes sports powerful. For a few hours, games become much more than games. They become community events, shared experiences, collective memories. That's why people care so deeply about protecting those moments from outside distractions. Looking ahead, the larger political significance may depend less on what happens inside the arena and more on what happens afterward. How do voters interpret the appearance? Does it become a forgotten footnote? Does it generate viral moments? Does it reinforce existing opinions? Or does it have no measurable impact at all? Political history suggests that symbolic moments can sometimes have outsized influence, not because they change minds overnight, but because they reinforce narratives that already exist. Supporters see confirmation of one story, critics see confirmation of another, and the country continues debating. That's likely what makes this particular event so interesting. It sits at the intersection of sports, politics, celebrity, culture, and public opinion. Each group sees something different. Basketball fans see the finals. Political observers see optics. Supporters see enthusiasm. Critics see controversy. Everyone is watching the same event, but they're not necessarily watching the same story. And that's where we arrive at the bigger takeaway. This was never just about one basketball game. It was about what happens when politics enters spaces traditionally reserved for entertainment and community celebration. In modern America, those lines continue to blur. Presidents appear at sporting events. Athletes speak on political issues. Social media amplifies every reaction. And moments that once would have lasted a few seconds now become national conversations. Whether Trump's appearance ultimately helps him, hurts him, or changes, nothing remains to be seen. What is clear is that the reaction itself tells us something important. Americans remain deeply engaged, deeply divided, and deeply invested in the symbols that shape public life. As the crowd fills Madison Square Garden and the basketball world focuses on the court, one thing is certain: the game may last only a few hours. The political debate surrounding it will likely last much longer. And in today's America, that's often the real
It's 2
story.
a.m. Yeah, I'm wide awake, scrolling through every move you make. You said I'm fine, yeah, classic you. But I know that line ain't ever true. Got your hoodie still in my room, smells like your cheap cologne perfume. Tryna act like I don't care, but your ghost is everywhere. You say we're good, but we're not the same. Now I'm dancing in the pouring rain. Thought we would forever, guess I was wrong. Now I'm just another sad love song. You left me on red, yeah, no reply. Got me overthinking every night. Was it real or just a vibe? Guess I'll never know this time. You said ride or die, and you dipped so fast. Now I'm stuck living in the past. Yeah, you played me like a game instead. Now I'm crying cause you left me on red. Cause you left me on red. Your playlist still got my name, but you don't feel the same. That's insane. Posting pics like you're okay while I'm breaking every single day. You said no drama, no goodbyes, but you vanished like a lullaby. Now I'm staring at my screen like, what did you really mean? Every text I never sent, every word I still regret. You moved on like nothing's wrong while I'm stuck inside this song. You left me on red, yeah, no reply. Got me overthinking every night. Was it real or just a vibe? Guess I'll never know this time. You said ride or die, then you dipped so fast. Now I'm stuck living in the past. Yeah, you played me like a game instead. Now I'm crying cause you left me on red. Maybe I was just a phase, just a spark that fades away. But you were my whole damn sky. Now I'm learning how to say goodbye. Yeah, I'm done with your mixed signals, your late night, I miss your riddles. You lost me, yeah, that's your loss. Now I'm stronger, I'm my own boss. You left me on red, but now I'm fine. Got my heart back, yeah, it's mine. Wasn't love just a disguise? Now I see through all your lies. You said ride or die, but I survived.